Welcome back to the 72nd episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy! Got my trusty fiberglass freaks cap on.
It's
Let's
not
see the Mad
contaminated, is
Hatter
it?
try to add that to his collection. Of course,
Don't challenge him, he might.
he doesn't have to steal it. I mean, it's they're pretty reasonably priced at the store at the Batman Museum store. So
All right, so this is Batman Season 2, Episode 36, The Mad Hatter Runs Afoul. Episode aired Thursday, January 5th, 1967. Directed by Oscar Rudolph and written by Charles Hoffman.
now, when we talked before last week, we mentioned that there were several comics that this was inspired by. The story was inspired by. One of them was Detective Comics 230. Again, that came out in 1956, written by Bill Finger, Batman the Mad Hatter of Gotham. And that is where a new criminal who calls himself the Mad Hatter has been collecting hats from all around the world and must have them stolen. He finally seeks one crowning trophy for his collection, and that is, of course, Batman's cowl. Um, Sadly, that one is not available digitally, so I was not able to read that one in preparation for this week's episode. So, my understanding, though,
That's
is
a
that
bummer.
he finally manages to steal the cowl from Batman, but it leads the dynamic duo to his secret hideout by way of a radiation detecting Geiger counter, because that's how he got the cowl away from Batman. And then he's finally captured. And then we also mentioned Detective Comics 241, written by Edward Hamilton, the Rainbow Batman, where Dick Grayson is in danger. So Batman draws attention to himself by wearing many different colored outfits, including one that looks very close to pink, even though I think it's supposed to be red, but the colorist at the time, it looks very pink. That one, sadly, is also not available in the DC app digitally, so I wasn't able to read that one either. And then also, I wanted to draw attention to Batman 134. That one came out in 1960. This one was written by Bill Finger as well, called The Rainbow Creature. Now, in this one, Batman and Robin are in South America, and they're helping to catch a small rebel group led by a would-be dictator. But the rebels aren't the only thing they need to worry about when a creature covered in stripes of red, green, yellow, and blue invade the town. Uh, Sadly, that one is also not available digitally through the app, so I wasn't able to read this. But yeah, so I was 0 for 3, Drew. Three strikes and you're out. But those were pretty influential, not just for this story, but beyond. Or should I say, not Batman Beyond? That's a different cartoon. But rather Batman the Brave and the Bold. If you remember that series, did you watch that series? 2009,
I
2010?
didn't.
Oh man, I think you
Nope.
would enjoy it, especially with as much fun as we're having with the Batman 60 series. The Batman Babe and the Bold show was very, very fun. Anyway, I think it's a second season in 2010. They did a story called Emperor Joker, in which Batmite appears and gives the Joker limitless power while hoping to witness a hero villain showdown between him and Batman. But regardless of that story, which is the main story of the episode, in the beginning, it shows Batman and Robin battling Firefly and, wait for it, the Rainbow Creature from Batman
Ah,
134, which that and in it their costumes change to look like the ones that are depicted in the Rainbow Batman. So yeah, so it's got a great, like I said, tradition of Batman in different kinds of outfits, particularly pink. And the contaminated cowl. Meanwhile, as we mentioned, goes on to take of a life of its own. It's in countless online memes. You've probably seen it throughout the online. People just love to show that picture of him. Regarding like, there's a lot of different sayings that go along with it. Some of them are not. Some of the ones are we can't say right here. But there used to be, okay, so there was, when the show came out, or sometime around the late 60s, 70s, there was a line of action figures or dolls called Mego that Mego produced. And they produced Batman and Robin as well. Now, they did not produce a contaminated cowl Batman. But later on, much later on, someone took up the license and created dolls in that image. And one of the ones that they created was a Mego figure that basically looks like the old Mego figure, except it has a pink cowl. But more recently, McFarlane did a nice action figure with the contaminated cowl, with the pink cowl. There's a Wacky Wobbler bobblehead with the pink cowl. There's a Funko variant as well. And you're going to dig this, Drew. There's a Pez dispenser with a pink cowl Batman. So, your shout out a couple weeks ago with your Pez dispenser, you can actually get a Pez dispenser with a pink Batman cowl. So, yeah, and I think it shows up on various other things. I'd be surprised if Lego Batman hasn't done something with the pink cowl at some point, maybe in a video game or something. But yeah, it's weird how we don't even, I'm starting off this episode talking about the contaminated cow because it was referenced last week. It doesn't appear in this week's episode, but for like 30 seconds, I think. And it's amazing that it's in this story, and yet it goes on to have such life elsewhere that people really remember it. You said you remembered it.
Yep, I sure did.
So visually, it's one of those things that
Oh,
you just don't forget.
nope, you don't. Once you see it, you don't forget it.
Nope,
We're gonna have to
nope.
get us some sort of we're gonna have to get us some sort of Batman pink cow merchandise just to show on the show.
There's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of that. The pink cow chums. Is that what we're? I don't know what that. Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, let's move on. All right, let's dive into this. When we last set eyes on the Cape Crusaders, the Mad Hatter had trapped them in a fluoroscopic cabinet where they were being exposed to high voltage X-rays. Could they be radiated forever? There's only one scientist capable of saving the radiated duo, and that's Magic Batman. And if you notice,
Hey,
he does not have a pink cow.
I know. I'm like, whoa, he's not radiated. He never looks happy, Drew. He never looks happy to be on the show.
No, he's got that grim look. All right. Magic Batman. Will Batman and Robin be eradicated? Let's see what he says. My sources say no.
Okay. Well, he
There
might
you
be.
go.
He and the rest of the world might be in for a shock.
Yep. Holy horror of horrors. Can it happen? Can it have happened at long last? The disastrous demise of the dynamic duo. Yesterday, flesh and blood. Today, cowled skeletons. Mad Hatter returns to the scene of the crime. Paul screams in fright when she sees the skeletal remains of Batman and Robin. She tells Jarvis he has gone too far this time. The Mad Hatter replies that every man likes a pretty girl with him at a skeleton dance.
Okay, this might be one of the most grimmest images we've ever seen on the show. I mean, it's pretty grim looking.
Yeah, it is.
The dynamic duo with just a little bit of clothing on and just skeletons. I mean, it looks pretty frightening. I do say it's pretty effective as a visual. I don't know if this caused kids to have nightmares, but that's the kind of stuff that would probably give me nightmares if I was, 6 or 8 watching this. Maybe.
They didn't have him dancing around singing "Them Bones."
Wow. You're just as grim, my friend. I love it. I love it. That's more that Addams Family kind of humor.
Yep. At police headquarters, Commissioner Gordon learns of the demise of Batman and Robin. He can't believe it. He tells Chief O'Hara that this world has been ripped to shreds, scene by scene. Both men cry.
Yeah, it's a pretty emotional scene. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Batman and Robin have been presumed dead before.
Yeah, you're not mistaken on that. I was thinking the same thing after I watched this episode. We've seen it at least once or twice.
Yeah. Now, there was
They
one
were
time where they were quote unquote gunned down by the cops, and
right,
and the police were in on that one. But I want to
there
say
were
that there's a couple of other times where they just sort of let the world think they were dead, right?
right, but it didn't get as extreme as it did in
Oh,
this episode.
oh, it's about to get real extreme.
News travels around the globe about the deaths of Batman and Robin. The president, the Queen of England, and other world leaders are informed of Batman's death.
Yeah, the switchboard that is constantly answering the phone, we give a different switchboard operator each time depending on the country. At least the first one says, Pennsylvania 65000. Now, obviously that's supposed to be the White House, and in this version of whatever reality they're giving us, it is, I guess, the address or the phone number for the White House. Now, in real life, it's a telephone number of the Hotel Pennsylvania in New York City, which was made famous by a popular big band song recorded by Glenn Miller in 1940. Pennsylvania 65000, 6500. Sorry. Um, and furthermore, in the White House telephone switchboard room, you might notice that there's Texas Longhorn antlers on the wall. Well, that's because at the time, LBJ, native Texan, was the sitting president.
Back at the back at the Gotham City Atomic Energy Laboratory, Professor Overbeck signals the all clear. Batman and Robin come out of hiding. Batman thanks Professor Overbeck for his assistance. If it wasn't for his skeletons in the closet, they wouldn't have been able to fool Mad Hatter.
Yeah, not just the skeleton. Nice joke there. Skeletons in the closet, by the way. But not just that, but apparently they keep a spare suits in the Batmobile, along with the spare suits that they were wearing. Like, I'm just like, how many suits do they have? Like, this just doesn't make any sense. Like, okay, so the skeletons have suits on, and they have suits on, and one of Batman's cowls was radiated. So I don't know. I lose track of all the costumes that were at play here, and I still don't have any real answers as to why Batman kept a radiated cowl on his head for at least a day.
Yeah, who knows? Professor Overbeck tells Batman not to thank him. If it wasn't for the Bat X ray deflector, the Cape Crusaders would have been dead. Another silly device.
Yes, absolutely.
Holy memory bank! They left the Batmobile in the back of the laboratory. To the Batcave.
That's a weird kind of
That
thing.
was kind of a silly scene. Yeah.
Yeah, Robin was about to go one way, and then, Bruce checks him and says, no, old chum, we parked in the back, remember? It's like, okay. It's just weird.
I know. I didn't understand that either. What was the purpose of that scene?
There seems to be a
But
lot of filler in this episode because there's not really a lot that happens. I mean, yeah, I expect that this recap will go pretty quickly because not a lot happens. So there's a lot of grieving, a lot of shots of the world grieving and being upset. They seem to be more interested people who are directing the show seem to be more interested in the death of Batman and how the world reacts than anything that's going on with Mad Hatter.
Yeah, I agree with you. Back at the Mad Hatter's hideout, the Mad Hatter informs Polly that he discovered a tracking device in Batman's contaminated cow. The Mad Hatter's men planted it in the water tower that can be seen through the window. I kept
Yeah,
waiting to see a W sign on that water tower
the
because I was,
what's interesting is that in the original story, they just use a Geiger counter to find out where the Mad Hatter's lair is. And here they have to have an actual tracking device. And I'm like, do you have that? Do you have so many things that are radioactive in Gotham that you can't like decide which one is your cowl?
well, if you remember back in the original Catwoman episode from season one, they sprayed some sort of radiation spray on those cat statues and
You're right.
tracked them that way.
Yeah, but apparently that's not good enough for his cowl.
Apparently, Polly tells the Mad Hatter that he sounds like the Joker, the Puzzler, or even the Riddler. The Mad Hatter remarks that he doesn't want anything to lead back to him. The Mad Hatter further explains that he plans to replace the ruby of the Golden Buddha of Bergama's headdress with the fake one he stole from Hattie Hatfield,
Yeah,
which which
the
is well, we'll get into it further
yeah,
because this is kind of stupid if you ask me.
yeah, she's pretty upset though, and that's pretty cool to see that she's noticeably upset about it. Not upset enough to really, turn him in or anything, but she's pretty upset and I love the Mad Hatter's speech here. It's one of, my favorite speeches of his, maybe one of my favorite lines in the whole like second season that we've run across so far. Is that when he says, "Who made Batman and Robin famous crime fighters? Criminals, that's who. You want to show a little less respect to the departed? Stay crooked. At least that's the least you could do." And then she says it's like putting flowers on their grave.
Which we're going to be getting to in just a second. The Mad Hatter's henchmen inform him that Batman and Robin's skeletons have been discovered. All businesses have been shut down and people have locked themselves inside by the thousands. The whole town is at half-mast. The Mad Hatter states it is the perfect time to snatch the ruby. Staying crooked is like putting flowers on Batman and Robin's graves.
Yep. Yeah, it's the only respectful thing to do for criminals. It would have been cool if they had a shot of like Catwoman or Joker or Penguin or somebody incarcerated to see their reaction to uh, to Batman and Robin's demise. But instead, we just get a lot of stock footage of big crowds in various
Yep.
places.
Yeah, which is funny because they just told us they locked themselves inside, and then later on we see them all outside. At Wayne Manor, Aunt Harriet tells her friend Mildred that there are already 4,000 women on the funeral committee alone. She might be able to work her in on the Statue of Batman committee. Aunt Harriet states that it is wonderful how citizens come together in national crisis. Alfred walks into the room wearing a black armband. Aunt Harriet is happy to see that Alfred is mourning, even though he is not a natural citizen. Aunt Harriet tells Bruce and Dick that they must get black armbands on too. And black armband, all it did was remind me of the Death of Superman comic. How all the heroes wore the black armband, Superman armbands during the time of his death.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, it's a weird thing because when she points it out, Alfred is almost like, "Oh, I didn't even realize I was wearing that."
Alfred informs Mrs. Cooper an immense crowd is gathered outside Wayne Manor, and he had to close the gates. They know that Mr. Wayne was a friend of Batman. Mrs. Cooper tells Alfred to make sure they are served coffee and sandwiches. They will see them once they get composed a little more.
They must have all taken that subway or the train the transit to Wayne Station and just emptied out in front of the lawn. Yeah, that's a weird thing. It's like, they're all showing up at Wayne Manor to mourn Batman. It's like, do they know?
Once Alfred leaves the room, Bruce tries to convince Aunt Harriet that Batman and Robin are still alive. But Aunt Harriet states she wouldn't believe it. She talked to Professor Overbeck herself, and he wouldn't lie. Bruce tells Dick they should have a moment alone in his study. Aunt Harriet states that is a beautiful way to express their respects. I thought it sounded a little weird to me, but whatever.
Well, they're always going off somewhere, but I look, it almost seems like, Aunt Harriet's supposed to be there to make sure that, it doesn't look suspicious, the two of them together, but it seems like all she does is make it seem creepy. So, uh, very strange, very strange.
At police headquarters, Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara stare out the window at 50,000 people just standing outside in grief. Both are wearing black armbands. Suddenly, the hotline phone begins to ring. Both Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara turn and stare at it. Mother McGillicuddy! He is phoning from the grave! I think that was my favorite line in this episode.
Hey, voted from the grave.
Commissioner Gordon answers the phone. Batman states that the rumors of his death have been greatly exaggerated.
Do you know where you pulled that quote from?
I've heard it before.
Well, I think it's a misquote actually. But I'm not sure who actually really said it, but it's usually attributed to Mark Twain.
Oh, that's right. Now that you think about it, there's a Touched by an Angel episode that Cliss and I watch every Christmas. It's got a flashback scene to Mark Twain, and he says that.
Oh, does he?
He says that during that episode. Yeah. So so
So
that
I
that's
don't know if
back from
he
the 80s.
yeah, I'm not sure if he actually said it. Uh oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so the uh the quote is the report of my death was an exaggeration, but it's often quoted as reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. So he actually did say such a thing, but the actual quote is the report of my death was an exaggeration. So,
All right. The way they say it in the Batman show is how they said it on that Touched by an Angel episode.
yeah, that's the way most people know it. It's
So
sort of like it's one of those things kind of like we were talking about last week or so, where everybody remembers one thing, but it's really something else.
the
Uh,
Mandela effect.
yeah, yeah, which is a very strange thing. So, it happens with quotes. It happens with movie quotes and quotes all the time. So I'm not surprised that it happened here too. But even Batman misquotes him. Batman.
Yep, even Batman. Sure, someday somebody's going to misquote the BatChums.
Well, we do a pretty good job of that ourselves.
Yeah,
I
we
think
do.
I think every quote of ours is a misquote.
Commissioner Gordon turns to Chief O'Hara, shouting excitedly that it is him, all right, the Cape Crusader. Chief O'Hara immediately rips off his black armband, stating that Batman has returned from beyond the pale. Batman tells Commissioner Gordon that he'll try to explain what happened later, but for now, he and Robin are going after the Mad Hatter. Commissioner Gordon replies, at a time like this? Who cares about that pipsqueak's inconsequential crimes? Batman replies that any crime, no matter how large or small, is a violation of a public right and law. The criminal or criminals violating such an offense must be apprehended for the sake of all human morality. They will hear from Batman shortly.
There are times where Batman just seems really annoyed by Commissioner Gordon.
And that
Like
was one of them.
he really looked like he was just like, dude, come on, man. This is your job. You have one job to stop crime.
Commissioner Gordon tells Chief O'Hara that the first order of business is contacting the presidential jet. The Mad Hatter and his henchmen sneak into the art. Mad Hatter and his henchmen sneak into the Gotham Art Center to steal the real ruby. Even the guards are not there. The Mad Hatter quickly switches the fake ruby for the real one. Suddenly, Polly comes rushing in. She informs the Mad Hatter that Batman and Robin are still alive. I
Hello.
I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of switching the ruby was. Why didn't they just steal it and leave? Why put a fake one up there on that piece of aluminum foil that was on the hat? I thought that
Uh,
looked stupid too, with a piece of aluminum foil.
well, that's why he put the ruby back because it just looks stupid if there was no ruby there. It's all about aesthetics, man.
I guess, but it's not like once they replaced it, nobody figured it out right away.
Well,
Like,
that's true. I mean, you got to give them some credit. They usually know when a crime's taking place. Look, there's a lot in this episode that doesn't make any darn sense.
that is very true. Back at the Batcave, Batman and Robin are sitting at a desk trying to figure out what happened to Batman's tracker. Suddenly, Batman hears a splash. He explains that his tracker contained an underwater sonar device. That didn't make any sense either. They're just instead of trying to track this thing, they're just sitting at a desk. Like, what are they doing? Oh man. Holy mermaid! Batman and Robin try to pinpoint the exact location using the Bat computer. It prints off a piece of paper that states the tracking device is in a body of water at Spring and Lake Streets. Robin replies that the old Lake Street Robin replies the old Lake Street reservoir. Batman states that was drained, filled, and turned into a housing project. Robin gives a second guess. The Spring Street Aquarium? Batman states it ran out of fish. Robin smacks
Uh-uh.
his fist into his hand, stating that they are not getting far, but it is a lot better than being departed and defuncted. Batman states that he thinks that he may have hit the old. Wait a minute. What? Batman states that he thinks that he may have hit it. He may have hit it, old chum. The defunct Green Derby restaurant near the intersection of Spring and Lake Streets. And if memory serves, there's an old elevated water storage tank directly behind it.
Yeah, I think Batman misquotes again there. He misspeaks there, so that's why I think you got a little confused as well, tongue-tied there. And I don't know if we pointed it out last week, but the Green Derby restaurant is an homage or reference to the LA iconic Brown Derby restaurant, which was a uh, famous restaurant that because it had actually shaped at the front of it was shaped like an actual like a huge brown derby hat. So I think they used to
Hmm.
have one at they used to recreate. I think they recreated it at Disney Hollywood Studios down in Orlando, but I'm not sure if that's still there. But I think that they did that too. So, but that's kind of what they're doing there.
Okay. I'm glad you explained that because I did not know that. Suddenly, the bat phone rings. Commissioner Gordon informs Batman that the ruby has been stolen from the Gotham Art Center and replaced with one that was taken out of Hattie Hatfield's headdress last night, which incidentally was fake. After Batman hangs up from Commissioner Gordon, Batman turns to Robin, stating, "Well, old chum, out of the sarcophagus." out of the sarcophagus and back into the saddle. Batman, Batman and Robin arrive at the defunct Green Derby restaurant to find Polly at the hat check stand. Polly asks Batman and Robin if they would like to check their cows. Batman states that won't be necessary. They won't be staying long, and business isn't exactly thriving. Polly states they shut down immediately when they heard about Batman and Robin. Robin points out a lot of dust settled in a short time. Polly blames it on the water tower. It attracts a lot of dust. Batman adds, doesn't also add Mad Hatter and his equally mad henchmen. He's using this restaurant as a hideout and Polly as a pretty decoy. Batman points at the pink cow that the Mad Hatter stole from last night. Polly states, you're Batman? Holy hoodwink or holy naive. Take your. Robin points out that the Mad Hatter and his henchmen are climbing the water tower as they speak.
I think that's the first time we've ever
Polly
gotten a
leads the
choice
way to.
where
Yeah.
where Robin gave us a choice. You can have this holy, this, or this holy, that. But take your pick.
Polly leads the way to the water tower. Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter is about to use his hat mesmerizer on Batman when they reach the top, when his hat blows away. Instead, a fight ensues. During the fight, Chief O'Hara and his men arrive. Commissioner Gordon has already arrested Polly as an accessory. Chief O'Hara and his men apprehend the Mad Hatter and his henchmen.
Okay, you just said
Holy
in like
multitudes!
10 seconds what takes like, it seems like an hour. That's got to be one of the
Well, that fight,
longest fight sequences I think we've ever had. Um,
yeah, it
it's
went on for a bit, didn't it?
it's kind of cool because it's outside and it's on a water tower and everything like that. But there's limited mobility. There's some cool scenes where instances where Robin is dangling. Robin's stuntman is dangling. Um, and where Mad Hatter tries to climb up to the top and all that and everything. And, they do what they can with it, but man, it takes a long time. And the cops get there, like, again, rare that they get there on time for something. Uh, they go out of their way to say that the woman has been arrested because usually, like we said in the beginning, like for most of the season, the women have been getting away. So they make a point, even though we don't see her get arrested, that she's not being arrested here. Um, the Mad Hatter's hat blows off, so that seems kind of lame. And so he can't use his like hypno ray. But the whole thing is striking me as odd, is because in the first part, yeah, I seem to recall the Mad Hatter had some big plan for the dynamic duo involving the water tower. And I thought they were going to do that here. And instead, they just don't look like they have any clue as to what to do. They go up there for no reason. And his hat blows off and they just get clobbered. And it just, it seemed pretty weak, actually.
Yeah. And the whole point last episode of putting that tracker in the water tower was to lure Batman and Robin there for some trap, and it just never materialized.
No, no,
So
pretty
crazy.
lame.
Holy multitudes! A crowd has gathered to celebrate the return of the Cape Crusaders, who wave from the top of the water tower. Back at Wayne, back at Wayne Manor, Aunt Harriet wants to know how Bruce knew without a shadow of a doubt that Batman and Robin were still alive when the rest of the world thought they were dead. Alfred interrupts to state that he believes it is time to divulge their secret. It was Alfred that told them. The cleaning woman at the Gotham City Atomic Energy Laboratory is his cousin Egbert's wife. Satisfied with that answer, Mrs. Cooper states that at least Batman and Robin, wherever they are, with Bruce and Dick adding, in unison, and who they are underneath those masks they wear must know with the esteem that they are held in the hearts of all the people on this earth.
Wow. Mrs. Cooper's becoming a regular Commissioner Gordon there. With her love for the dynamic duo. Hey, it's a cool shout out to Cousin Eggy that we met in Joker's Provokers. Apparently he is sowed all his wild oats and got settled down in the interim since we saw him last.
Yes,
Uh,
because wasn't he dating some lady from the bar or something, or
I know
something weird like that?
he was going to see her, and Alfred's like, say hello from me. And so yeah, I mean, who knows what was going on there. But anyway, he got himself hitched, apparently, unless Alfred's lying about that too. So because these lies compound more lies, Drew, compound more lies. That's just a manner of lies, Drew. That's what Wayne Manor is. It's built on, well, there's a Batcave, but then between the Batcave and Wayne Manor, there's just a lot of lies. That those poles just go down a lot of lies. Up and down.
All right, so we got to talk about something here.
Uh-oh.
What the heck was Bruce looking at through the magnifying glass?
I
It
have
was
no
some sort
idea.
of weird skeleton. I'm like, is that
Oh
supposed to
yeah.
be
At the end
a
there.
is that supposed to have been a rat skeleton or
I
a
think it
bat
was
skeleton?
I think it was supposed to be a bat.
It was weird. I'm
Yeah.
like, that is
Yeah.
just weird. And Harriet's not questioning him what the heck he's doing with that bat skeleton.
I don't know, but Bruce is taking note. I mean, Dick is taking notes. He is fascinated by it as well. But yeah, I think I think it's a bat, but it doesn't have its wings.
Yeah, I noticed
So
that, so I
yeah,
wasn't
it's just
sure.
yeah, very strange.
Very
Uh,
strange.
yeah, this is a bonkers episode. Look, it's easy to see why with scripts like this. Um, And Charles Hoffman is doing a lot of work here because he's kind of running the show a little bit as well. And he's producing a lot of shows. He's producing a lot of these and writing a lot of them. But after, he kind of added his 2 cents to the last one, to the Sandman two-parter, and added Catwoman. And now with this one, it's kind of like, I long for our boy Stanley Ralph Ross, right? Like, because these are we're familiar with the bonkers things happening on Batman. Yes, we are, and there's some interesting things that happen here too. But I must admit, if I'm David Wayne and I get this script, I'm kind of like, really, I really don't want to come back, guys. And yeah, I mean, to his credit, you can't tell that he doesn't want to be there because he's really good. He delivers his lines. I've seen David Wayne do other performances in other movies, and sometimes he can be downright villainous and creepy. So here he's playing it tongue in cheek. He's adding a little lisp, which is kind of fun to his character, and giving him a little bit more flair. It's just unfortunately, as you pointed out in this second part, he doesn't have a lot to do. Most of the episode seems to be like, "Hey, look at the world mourning for Batman and Robin," and he just goes and he steals a jewel unopposed for no reason, and then he gets his butt kicked in a water tower. Like that's it. That's all that happens to him in this episode. So, yeah, I can understand that his reluctance to return, which is why this will be the last time we see the Mad Hatter on the Batman 60 show.
So overall, this it was very. I thought it was a memorable two-parter because I remembered it. But I gotta say, it was kind of bonkers.
Yeah, more than usual, right?
A lot of weird stuff happening in it. Yeah, a lot of weird stuff in it, more than usual. But it's very memor what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. I mean,
It's very easy to remember this episode.
right, because the first part, it gives us the visual of his pink cowl. And then the second part is like the world's mourning Batman and Robin's death. So that's two big memorable things that happen during the course of this show. So I can understand why. And then you've got that creepy image of their skeletons at the beginning. So
Right.
there's a
And
lot
then
to.
you got to add in the fight scene on the water tower too. That's unusual.
That's true.
I remember that too. So,
Yeah, yeah. So it's a mixed bag, you know. Could it have been a stronger script? I think we agree, yes, it could have. But I think overall there's some wild stuff here, and it still makes an impact because, like I said, it's still being referenced to this day, the contaminated cow, the pink cow, so you got to give it props.
all right. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. Do you have a shout out, Mike?
I do. As I pointed out at the beginning of the episode, I wasn't able to research or actually read the stories because they weren't part of the DC app at this point. At this point, I think slowly they're still adding to their immense library. I mean, they've got thousands of titles available. So the three that I was looking for just happened not to be among them. But I want to give a shout out to an online resource that I use that helped me out, and I think is a must for people who are interested in all things Batman. It is an account called History of the Batman. It is a DC ambassador for Warner Brothers. History of the Batman, and they're available on. I usually follow them on Instagram, but they're also on the other social medias, Facebook. I even think they have a YouTube account as well, and of course they're on other social media platforms. We're going to have a link in our show notes, but you can just put in History of the Batman under Linktree and find all their resources where they've done a lot of great things for like articles and whatnot for Batman's 85th anniversary. So you can check out some of the stuff that they've put together there. They have merch as well. But yeah, they do a really good job. Like on Instagram and whatnot, they post like really good articles on various things that happen over the course of the history of Batman. And some of them are as crazy as these outfits that we talked about in this episode, as well as other events that are more significant, like the death of Robin and other main characters and creative, like the addition of some creators and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great resource, and if you're on social media, I would definitely say check them out.
All right. And for my shout out, I'm going to shout out about the Batman Cape Crusaders episode, or well, it's the BatChums episode 8 of the Cape Crusaders re-reviewed.
Easy for you to
Be-
say.
yeah, because because by the time this episode comes out, it'll be up on our Patreon. So
Wow.
we're gonna be finishing off that series in the next few weeks. So
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that was a great
we had
series. That was a lot of fun
yeah,
to review.
we had to take a pause on it coming out on the Patreon for a bit, but I'm getting them out now, so that's cool.
Nice. That's awesome. And yeah, I hope people are checking those out. Look, you don't have to pay us a lot to access our Patreon. And the first what is it, first week or so is free?
First week's free, and it's only $1 a month. So
Yeah, I mean
I'm
that's the
hoping you
start.
get.
That's the start. If you want to provide more, we're not going to say no, but it's not going to cost you a hat or a cowl. But we appreciate all the support you guys can give us, and that's just one thing that we've done to give bonus material for those people who do support us. We've got plans for other things too now that we're finished with Cape Crusader.
Right. And I gotta say, episode 8, when I was editing it, sounded pretty good. So I liked re-listening to it. We had a lot of information in that one for some reason. So, yep.
For some reason. Hey, because we work at this,
Yeah,
Drew.
for some reason. I don't know. We talked about a lot of we talked about a lot of stuff that was happening in there and how it tied into the comics and stuff. So, all right, if you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about this week, you can reach us at our feedback line 317-455-8411. Text us, leave us a message, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. All right, you get out of here, Bat Chum.
BatChums are ready to move out.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Don't worry, the worst is yet to come. In 3 parts.